Hello and welcome. You're watching Newsx and I'm Savri Jindal. Pakistan is among the countries that are actively testing nuclear weapons, according to US President Donald Trump. The Republican leader's remarks came amid buzz of the US resuming the test of its nuclear weapons. Trump noted the move was necessary as several nations, including Russia, China, North Korea and Pakistan, are conducting nuclear tests. And it's also appropriate that the US also does it. Trump claimed that US does not necessarily know where these powerful nations that are testing nuclear weapons are, but asserted the testing is being done. Let's in fact listen in.
No, we're going to test because they test and others test, and certainly North Korea's been testing. Pakistan's been testing.
Donald Trump's claims have once again stirred up conversations about Pakistan's nuclear program. Pakistan launched its nuclear program in the 1950s for energy but shifted to weapons after India's 1974 test. Under Abdul Qadir Khan, it mastered uranium enrichment by the 1980s, conducting 6 tests in 1998 to match India's 5. Today, it holds 170 warheads deliverable by aircrafts, missiles and submarines with a full-spectrum deterrence policy. Donald Trump's rhetoric has raised a big question. What does this statement mean for India? Well, Pakistan's 170 warheads and full-spectrum doctrine rejecting no first use were built to shield terrorism from Indian retaliation. In 2025's Pahalgam crisis, Islamabad brand-shielded nuclear signals to freeze Delhi. PM Modi shot back. No tolerance for nuclear blackmail. India will not be intimidated. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh demanded IAEA custody of Pak's nukes, declaring the LOC, the international border and nuclear threat will no longer protect you. India called Pakistan's bluff, struck deep and forced a ceasefire, proving that bombs can't veto justice. I'm joined by our guest, Ambassador Mahesh Sachdev, former diplomat, Major General Gigi Dwivedi, global and strategic defense expert, Mr. Gautam Mukherjee, senior journalist, Dr. Martand Jha, contributing editor, Newsx. Let me first start this conversation with Major General Gigi Dwivedi. And sir, I'd like to understand from you, the statements that Donald Trump has made. Do you think he knew about Pakistan conducting nuclear tests all along, and now suddenly he's revealed his cards to justify US's standing as far as nuclear testing is concerned?
Well, as a worry, we need to take President Trump's statement in a pragmatic manner and not jump to just conclusions. Well, what President Trump has said that there are certain nations like Pakistan, North Korea, even China, they have been testing. But the point is, in the testing is done in the 2 spectrums. One is explosion, nuclear explosion, like India did in 1998 May, and the Pakistan also then tit for tat. Now that is a nuclear explosion. And second is the simulative testing, means you don't actually do the explosion, but there are certain laboratories, there are certain test sites, like Chinese have Lapnor, where in fact Pakistan has been also carrying out certain critical testing. So with what we call is the critical testing means that it's not a full set explosion, it is a simulated type of test that you do to check the credibility of your weapon systems. Now that's what I think is what President Trump has tried to state, that in case they are doing the critical testing, then I'm sure America also must be doing it. If they're not doing it, then they will resort to it. Now that is one point that we need to take into consideration. Secondly, Pakistan has about 170 nuclear warheads, and they have the triad. They can deliver these from the from the ground, land, on the air, and also they have a tie-up with the Chinese that they can also do the from the seaboard. But point is that when we look at the Pakistan nuclear, there are 2 further points of attention. Firstly, Pakistan has gone in big way for nuclear tactical nuclear weapons. That means these weapons can be fired in the battle zone from the artillery guns. So that is a very serious thing, because India has yet not gone in for the tactical nuclear weapons, where Pakistan has gone for the tactical nuclear weapons. And secondly, you see the Pakistan-China nexus. China today has about 600 nuclear warheads, and they are expanding very rapidly, and they would be having about 1,000 odd in next few years. So when you look at the capability of Pakistan, you have to also factor the capability, what is the nexus capability between Pakistan and China. And as it is, Pakistan has been carrying out tests in Lucknow. In fact, in 1998 also, their trigger mechanism, our defense test in China, they were very strong, credible information that they had done the testing of the trigger device in Lucknow. So all I can say is that we need to take President Trump's statement in a very pragmatic manner. Possibly what he has said is the critical testing, not the explosion. But the point is, we need to keep a very close watch as to what Pakistan and China are doing, because that is what we need to factor, and not see Pakistan in isolation. Aswari.
Right, absolutely. Let me quickly rope in Ambassador Mahesh Sachdev, and taking from what Major General G.G. Dwivedi has said, he said that we should perhaps look at it from a pragmatic mindset. How do you essentially view the statements that Donald Trump, or rather the revelations that Donald Trump has made? He's also in fact said that US has enough nuclear weapons to blow up the world 150 times. What do you make of it?
Well, Mr. Trump is known to resort to truthful hyperbole in whatever he does. This phrase was invented in his book, The Art of the Deal, and he's been faithful to it. Now, taking it seriously, one should say a couple of things. The global nuclear architecture has come a long way since the 1960s, when Russia and United States tested weapons first in the air, then underground, and then they stopped testing under the test ban. Then the CTBT came in, Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty, which rules out the signatories from signing, having any nuclear explosions. India cited peaceful nuclear explosion in 1974, and we went nuclear in 1998. Pakistan followed suit. North Korea in 2017 declared itself as a nuclear power, having exploded multiple devices underground. Now, with that background, we come to the foreground. During the last month, Russia has disrupted this architecture by announcing the two nuclear-powered delivery vehicles for nuclear weapons. First is Burevestnik, a nuclear-powered missile with infinite range. And second is Poseidon, underwater torpedo, again powered by nuclear fission. Now, both these are revolutionary concepts. They, instead of normal delivery vehicles like rockets and torpedoes, they do not rely on the normal chemical explosions to power the missiles. They rely on nuclear power plant in the rocket itself that powers the missile. So this gives them infinite range, because nuclear power does not finish off so quickly. And this has upped the ante. Then again, earlier last year, and even before that, there were news about hypersonic missiles, which Russia and China have tested. Now, with all these three type of delivery vehicles, which United States hasn't got, United States becomes an underdog. As it is, Russia has more nuclear weapons than the United States has. So to catch up with them, Mr. Trump is trying to rev up momentum in
Right.
the United States nuclear program. But the catch here is that United States Secretary of Energy has clarified that they don't intend to have nuclear explosions. They would have only nuclear simulation tests, and that General Dwivedi has already explained what there is. There's no ban on them, and it's a bit of a sophistry. Mr. Trump trying to justify the United States action on the basis of what Pakistan, China, or other North Korea have done. So that is where I stand. Thank you.
Right, absolutely. Let's get in a perspective from Mr. Gautam Mukherjee on what this essentially means for India, because Prime Minister Narendra Modi on many occasions has made it abundantly clear that India will not be intimidated by nuclear blackmail. What do you then essentially make of this revelation that has been made?
Well, it's a lot of saber rattling. I think the main perpetrator of this upping the ante is Russia, because it has been talking nuclear for quite a while and now has deployed a submarine with the Poseidon as well as the other missile that the ambassador referred to. Now, in this, people can test all they like. It is very true what Mr. Trump said, that he's got enough nuclear power to destroy the world 150 times. But the point is, you don't need to do that. You can do it in one go, because any nuclear warhead nowadays is multiple. It can go to different locations out of one missile at the same time, and each of them have many times the power of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. People can test all they like, but this is a zero-sum game. There is no winner in a nuclear attack, because it inevitably, invites a retaliation, and that retaliation means both countries are destroyed. India has a triad. It can launch air, sea, air, sea, land, and submarine. This has been tried and tested. We have very fast missiles. We have been testing of late hypersonic missiles of our own, and other larger ones, longer ones, i.e. longer duration ones, are also on the anvil. So everybody's got them. Nobody can use them. So what is the point of this saber rattling? I am not at all clear.
Right, absolutely. Let's also get into perspective from Dr. Martan Jha, and I'd like to understand from you, how do we essentially view these comments that have been made by Donald Trump? Like Major General G.G. Dwivedi said, should we look at it from a pragmatic mindset? Is it good that this has been revealed right now? What do you make of it?
Well, I'm more looking at it from the nuclear governance structures. See, the thing is, over the last 4 to 5 decades, the nuclear governance structures were primarily put in place in 1960s. Today, if countries start nuclear testing, then thinking of a world where more and more nations would want to join in the race. What happens is that the perennial question whether more nuclear weapons are better or the less is better. There is a classical debate in the literature of international relations where some scholars argue that the more is better. And the reason they give is that since nuclear weapons have come into existence, the wars have gotten lesser. If you look at the previous century or any other century prior to the coming of the nuclear weapons, the number of wars in terms of sheer numbers, the quantitative aspect, they were significantly more as compared to when nuclear weapons have come into existence. Now to your question how India should look at it. See, India can look at it anyway, be it pragmatic or non-pragmatic, we have to be always on alert mode. See, we cannot trust Pakistan, okay, what kind of intentions it has. I am not saying that India should go and make a preemptive strike, because you know, you have to make a reasoned decision. And I don't think that India is very much worried also. What I am trying to say is that the major powers in the international system should come up with a dialogue, should set up new mechanisms, because if you do not set up mechanisms, it is bound to be disastrous in some time or some decade. That's my take.
Absolutely. So, of course, we do, of course, have a no first policy here in India. But let me go back to Major General G.G. Dwivedi. Taking from what Mr. Jha has said, more or less of nuclear testing being the question that looms large. With that context being there, I also want to understand from you, where does the Agni 5 missile testing, the Trishul exercise, where does that fall in the larger spectrum?
Before I answer your question, we need to exactly figure out what exactly makes the nuclear deterrence. You see, one is the warhead and second is the delivery system. Once you meet these two, that becomes a weapon system. And today, as far as the warheads are concerned, America and Russia have near parity, just a difference about 200 odd warheads. But where is the difference coming is the delivery system, because the Chinese Chinese have tested even DF-41 and beyond. North Korea had tested Hwasong 17, and now Russians have tested, as the ambassador brought out, the Borisnik and also Khabarovsk, that is the submarine. Now that makes the major difference, that delivery system, once you have better delivery system, obviously your deterrence becomes that much more potent or that much more credible. Now coming to where does India stand? Well, Agni 5 is the intercontinental ballistic missile, has a range of about 5,000 tested. It can be extended to about 8,000. That means it covers our objectives or our adversaries. Their areas are well covered. And exercise Trishul, these are the periodic exercises. When I was in service, we have carried out such level of exercises. This is basically to test your operation plans and also to ensure that you are ready for any contingency. And this exercise Trishul is a tri-service exercise, is being conducted by the Southern Command. It has a component of the naval power, the air power, and of course the ground forces. And these exercises are pre-planned. They have a very clear set of objectives, and we also inform the other side. Pakistan has been informed about the exercise, and therefore these exercises are basically to tone up your operation plans, or also your test your operation capability. So I leave it at that. But the point is, India has to match not only today Pakistan capability, but to also factor the Chinese angle, because it was amply, I would say, indicated or amply stood out as to what sort of nexus is there between Pakistan and China. And interestingly, whether you take Pakistan nuclear capability or their missile capability, both have been, I think, courtesy China, because without Chinese help, they could have not been what they are today. Aishwarya.
Right, absolutely. Ambassador Sachdev, I'd like to rope you in and understand from you, what if Prime Minister Narendra Modi had gone and said that Iran is doing nuclear testing? What would Trump do then?
In fact, that is something that you put chicken and egg in a reverse order. If United States does something rash like nuclear testing, how does it then justify putting all sort of maximum pressures on countries like Iran and ostracizing North Korea for doing precisely that? This becomes a zero-sum game. More testing United States does, the nuclear explosion testing, more Israel would be tempted to come out of the closet and declare itself as a weapon state. More Iran would be sort of able to justify pursuing nuclear weapons program. And once that cat is out of the bag, then the Gulf states, including Saudi Arabia, who have already declared that if Iran gets nuclear weapons, they would get nuclear weapon too. So it becomes an unmanageable nuclear race at a level which the world has not seen before.
Absolutely. Dr. Matan Jha, I'd like to rope you in. And do you believe that Pakistan now knows about this, the fact that Trump has made this statement? And in your assessment, do you think Pakistan is panicking?
See, Pakistan has always been in a panic mode since it got its birth. Okay, it is always of the opinion that India is going to do something to it, and that's why it keeps doing preemptive strikes. Whatever wars we have seen with Pakistan, 4 of them, all of them have been initiated by Pakistan. Why? Because in their mind and in their unreasoned mind, India would do something to them which would be of existential threat to them. So their entire defense policy, entire strategic policy is geared against India. India does not have a reciprocal policy as of now. India only is reacting to what Pakistan is doing. India does not, as I mentioned, India does not want to make a preemptive strike. See, Pakistan's entire security apparatus, if you look at how the finances have been handled in terms of the security apparatus, most of them has been US funded since the time of the Cold War. And that money Pakistan used through ISI against India in the cross-border terrorism in Kashmir. So that is India's primary concern right now, that if they somehow manage to get more money, how would that money would be used further? That's my assertion.
All right, Major General G.G. Dwivedi, I'll come back to you. Does India now reserve the right to take up Pakistan's nuclear facilities now that this has been said?
Well, first and foremost, there is an agreement between the nuclear countries, especially India and Pakistan, that that agreement actually restrains or even puts a embargo not to strike at each other nuclear sites. That is the nuclear, where you have the nuclear, actually the warheads. But yes, once the warheads are mated with the delivery system, then they become the weapon system. And if the war-like scenario, these will be targeted. So the first point is that at the current situation, we have a restraint that we don't target each other nuclear installations, I would say, but it doesn't debar targeting each other weapon system once the hostilities are actively on. Secondly, yes, India needs to review, because we have a policy which is of no first use policy, and also we are looking at the credible nuclear deterrence. So our weapon system, our nuclear warheads about 170, 180, take it anyway, and they are almost at par with Pakistan. But the point is, we need to keep a very close watch, as I said earlier, because today the whole scenario has changed. Today Pakistan is not really in panic mode, because it has the back of China, and that was tested in Op Sindoor. So therefore we need to be a little more careful, because Pakistan could be more adventurous, because they have a policy of offensive policy, aggressive policy. But the point is that we need to now factor the new threats, threats in how Pakistan, China is coming together, the trilateral that is developing in Bangladesh, with China as orchestrating Pakistan, China, Pakistan, Bangladesh, the cooperation. And only yesterday, Pakistan Adjutant General was in Dhaka. So we need to actually see the whole thing from a larger perspective. But all I can say is that nuclear weapons have a factor in any type of war, because there is certain restraint that is imposed due to nuclear weapons, but at the same time there always exists a window for the conventional skirmishes or the certain degree of low level conventional wars. But nuclear war, I don't think, are actually possible. But yes, there is a deterrence which restrict the level of or the threshold of the conventional wars. So we have to factor the nuclear weapons of the adversaries when we actually look at our own plans and review our own plans, which is a constant process, Aswarya.
Right, absolutely. I'd like to, in fact, go to Ambassador Sachdev and like the closing comments from you on the same question that I'd raised with Major General G.G. Dwivedi. Does India now reserve the right to take our Pakistan's nuclear facilities? What's your assessment on that front?
I don't think so. I think this would create more problems than solve it. You would also have to factor in two aspects that have not been mentioned yet. First of all, whoever has technological and delivery edge would like to freeze that edge. And therefore, if United States is falling back, it would not be interested in containment of the nuclear weapon systems over their progress. Secondly, non-state actors have become increasingly important threat in the nuclear system. The nuclear architecture worldwide has was between states, but then with Al-Qaeda and ISIS and others, and even Pakistan army becoming partly radicalized, thanks to likes of Ziaul Haq and the current field marshal. There are wings in those armed forces which are far more itching to use nuclear weapons than others. And ISIS and Al-Qaeda would love to have tactical or other nuclear weapons from Pakistani arsenal. And that's not just a theoretical possibility. So all that told, I think we are at the threshold of a fairly dangerous era. And I think Mr. Trump's latest statements have added the witch's brew even further. Thank you.
Right, absolutely. Ambassador Mahesh Sachdev, Major General G.G. Dwivedi, Mr. Gautam Mukherjee, Dr. Martan Jha, thank you for taking out time and taking this very important conversation forward. We take a short break. More on the other side.